Hey, what's up, everybody? This is my first book review. While I'm in grad school, I'm going to be doing book reviews on books that I have read, and that I really appreciate and that I like. And this first book I'm going to do is called Iron John by Robert Bly. This book is a book for men, about men, by men, and it really did speak to me. As I mentioned, if you don't know before, my name is Rolonsky, wrote RJ for short. I am a licensed mental health counseling student right now at UCF. Just started the program, and I want to specialize in men. So I was looking for books that talked about manhood, and this is one of the top books that popped up. And I decided to open up and read it. And I'll tell you right now, it was worth it because I believe that Robert Bly had contributed so much, and if he was still alive, he would have continued to contribute in amazing ways. But the book, Iron John, I'm going to basically review that. And I wanted to start off with a question is what does it mean to be a man today in modern Western society? What does it mean to be a man today? There's a lot of overall, just say it like this. Me being a man myself, a young man myself, a lot of men don't know what a man is, what a man is supposed to do, the purpose, the responsibilities or things like that. And honestly, a lot of men, when we start talking about patriarchy, you talk about dominance, abuse, things like that. Men, honest, masculinity and men in general just get put in a bad light. And Robert Bly realized that there has been a decline of men since the 1900s. There has been a huge decline in the productivity and the availability of men and them just showing up in society for their family, work, friends, whatever, for their wives. Just a huge decline. And Robert Bly was not a counselor or anything. He was a poet. He was an activist. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have notes. I'm definitely using notes doing this. But he was a poet, activist. He was the founder of the mythopoetic men's movement. So what he would do, and it's kind of what he did in his book, he would take mythology and he would intertwine it with the reality and phases and stages of manhood and masculinity and what that looks like. And it's very interesting. That's what really pulled me in. And for example, like in this book, Iron John is a folk tale, a German folk tale by two brothers called the Grimm brothers. They were poets as well. And what Robert Bly basically did was structured this book around the story of Iron John. In Germany, they call him Iron Hans. Iron Hans, I believe is Hans. I think Iron Hans. It's the same story, but translated to English, Robert Bly called it Iron John. But it's the same thing. But he wrote this book in 1990, and he used the fairy tale, the fairy tale of Hot Iron John to explain the stages of male growth. So, a couple of insights I want to share with you, what I got from this book. So, the first thing is the wild man, which is Iron John. So, the whole story is circles around the idea of the wild man, right? And the wild man is Iron John. Remember that. And the wild man or Iron John represents the masculine soul, instinct, depth, and energy, etc. And the purpose of, and basically the thesis is that men in Western society, men around the world, a lot of men here have separated from the wild man, from the masculine soul, and put it off to the side. And we stopped learning. We don't know how to, we've stopped and we don't know anymore how to integrate the wild man back into who we are, right? The wild man isn't us. Like how he describes it, the wild man isn't us, but it is a part of us. And we have forgotten the art of learning how to take that masculine soul and intertwine it, bringing a boy to a man. And how my note right here says, learning how reconnect and initiate this untamed side through authenticity, not violence. That's the other thing too. Masculinity is viewed as toxic. Like there's this term called toxic, and I don't want to stay too off course, but toxic masculinity. That is a new term that has been created that kind of makes masculinity in general just sound bad. And the truth of the matter is, masculinity is not bad at all. Even saying toxic masculinity isn't really correct. And the reason is that it's not really masculinity that is toxic. It's really not masculinity at all. It is when you see a grown man showing up in different ways that doesn't help anybody and is destructive to himself and others. Even though he's a man, he's not necessarily, how would you say, he might have masculine traits as in a beard, he might be big, he might be strong, deep voice, driving a big car, whatever it is. He might have a lot of things that make him appear masculine, a lot of masculine characteristics that would go, but they're just characteristics because a woman can have all of that. A woman can have a beard, you feel me? A woman can have a Charger with a V8 engine. A woman could dress down a certain type of clothes and make her look masculine as well. So it's not the characteristics that make a man a man. It's the masculine soul, right? It's not the masculine characteristics that make it masculine, that make somebody actually masculine, right? It's the masculine soul. So, and I say all of that to say this: when you see a man, even though he is an adult, showing up in these ways, he's not operating from a masculine standpoint. He's operating like a little boy. He is not really masculine. He is a man. He's a grown man, but he's not operating with the masculine soul, with the masculine energy. He is at all that violence, all the craziness, whatever it is, like I said, hurting everybody else. He is a boy in a man's body. And he has not learned how to intertwine his masculine soul into him, and nobody has showed him, right? And that's why we're using the word initiation, but I'll get more into the idea of initiation, which is bringing a boy to a man by other men. Other men initiate that boy. All right. I need to get through this because I don't want this to take too long. But the takeaway here: healthy masculinity means embracing your untamed side in constructive ways, creativity, courage, and spirituality. Right. And so quick thing. I remember being so young, I always had a pressure on me to show up tough in front of other boys my age. There was this thing we did not know. One, I didn't have it in the household, right? You know, I had both my parents up until I was 11, 12 years old. But my dad wasn't really emotionally available or really spent a lot of personal time with me as well. But even though he showed up, you know, in such a tough way, and even at school when I was with other boys, they showed up in such a tough way. It's like we had to be hard, we had to be tough. We even know what it was. We were just all little boys trying to figure it out together, and we had no actual male coming over us and showing us what it seemed like. Like I have now, going back to my story, I realized I have been initiated through college. I was really initiated, especially at my last college at Harding University. I really was initiated because I was willing to be initiated, and letting other men in and having these conversations and being coached up by other men. You know, I was initiated, which is good, but initiation doesn't stop either. But there's a insight too, the crisis of initiation. So traditional societies had rites of passage, which were elders guiding boys to manhood. And this is what I was talking about earlier. There has always been rites of passage, just like when you think about a quinceañera, a girl, I believe Hispanic girl who turns 15 years old, to bringing her into womanhood. In other different cultures, even black cultures, you know, they'll look at their daughters, you know, and turn 18 years old. They look at their sons, you know, you turn 18 years old, you're an adult now. But the thing is that there's this thing, and this coming off the top of my head, there's this thing, especially when it comes to single mothers, especially in the black households, they're definitely harder on their daughters than they are on their, in the Caribbean households too. I believe it's in a lot of households, especially if you have a single mother. It seems like the mothers are much harder on their daughters than they are on their sons. And in a sense, they kind of initiate their daughters. There is a lot of, I'm not saying it's perfect, I'm not saying it's good, but I will say right now, looking at society, women and men under the age of 30, when looking at men and women under the age of 30, women are dominating men in every single aspect when it comes to academics, when it comes to income, when it comes to health, when it comes to this. And I think across the board, women are dominating men under the age of 30. And I think a part of that is because even though I'm not saying the women had it easy, I'm not saying they had it perfect, the girls had it easier perfect from their mothers. But their mothers instilled something in them, showing them what womanhood really was. That's the theory, right? I'm just going off the top of my head. I don't know if that's true or not. But going on, we don't have rites of passage anymore. There is nothing that is set up where men look to mentor men, like they're intentionally are open and ready to mentor men, right? Like there's a rite of passage. Hey, you're a boy and you're going to be a man. We're initiating you into a man. You need to understand what manhood is. I didn't have that per se, like growing up, especially in my community. I didn't have that. I really got that in college. Luckily, thank God. That's why I love Harding University. So I'm wearing it right now. It's funny. I love this shirt, but it's comfy. Yeah. Second point, many men remained uninitiated through shallow substitutes, gangs, risk, and workalism. Workaholism. It's basically like I think I spelled that wrong. I think that's why I'm struggling. Workalism. Workaholic, basically. What is it? Workaholic is easy. Workalism, I guess. But what it's saying here is that a lot of boys aged into men uninitiated. So nobody actually held their hand and no other man held their hand and brought them into manhood. They grew up, they hit puberty, all this stuff, this and that. They grew up and they stayed boys in grown men bodies. And now you could see, and like the book pointed out, Robert Bly, Bly pointed out a lot of good things, for example. Shallow substitutes, where you have boys trying to recreate the initiation process, right? You ever heard gangs is like, there's an initiation process. Like a fraternity, there's an initiation process. There's a rite of passage you need to go through to earn your keep, to be a part. And they try to mature each other through that. The reason why that doesn't work is because you have boys trying to mature in boys. Blind can't lead the blind. That's the issue. But they try to recreate it in gangs. They're all lost. They're lost. And I get it. And a lot of boys, even though they might not be in a thuggish gang, in a street gang, I'll say a lot of boys will try to create little subsections of group where they got their boys where they're lawyers do this and that and create their little gangs. And there's no grown men involved in that process. This is just everybody around the same age just have each other. That is not good enough. That's why it's a shallow substitute, because even though it tries to replicate the initiation process, it does not finish the job. Not in a good way either. Women don't want to marry gang members. Nobody want to. I have no gang member friends. I'm not a gang member. And guess what? I don't want to hang around you either. Reason is because you're going to pull me into some stuff I don't even want to be in. I know a quick story. Freshman in college, went to Florida to check with a couple of guys. Showed up with a couple of guys from Miami from a couple of different schools I knew. After the first semester, a couple of guys got kicked off the team because of grades. And I'll never forget, a couple of months later, while I was in my spring semester, I seen a RIP post of one of the players, because he died on somebody's porch. Even though he wasn't gangbanging, he wasn't doing nothing. He wasn't doing nothing like that. But because he was hanging out with people like that, he died. If he had been in school, and I still believe this, if he had not flunked out and he still been in school, he probably would have still been alive today. They're killing men. Right? Risks. Men who are initiated take ridiculous risk. And when it says risk, I'm sure we're not talking about just any type of risk. We're talking about stupid risk, not calculated risk. They're taking dumb risks, stealing, robbing, trying to get rich quick, all these crazy, huge risks that could have detrimental effects for years to come. Not calculated risk, right? Because I love risk, but I know the difference between calculated risk and stupid risk. And the risk I'm talking about here is stupid risk. An uninitiated man that doesn't have maturity, that isn't mature. This is my boy, he texted me. That isn't mature is taking all types of risk. Having unprotected sex with just any type of woman. Having a baby, not being ready to support the baby or the woman. Sleeping around with multiple women. Sexual transmitted STIs, STDs. Hanging out with the wrong crowds, just doing things, and workaholism. That was my thing right there. Working as hard as I can for absolutely no reason, no purpose. Now I have reason and purpose. Let me just fine line here. That would have been my thing. Because I naturally like to do a lot of work anyways. I love doing work. Part of the reason why I'm doing this video, because I love to read books. I like to learn stuff, this and that. I could have easily fell into the group of people who pushed life to the side. Marriage, kids, family, friends, whatever it is, and just head down into work and use that as an excuse. I'm busy, I'm busy, I'm busy. I still plan on working very hard, but I still plan on integrating everything else into my life. Family, friends, all these things, right? I want that as well too. So workaholism only hurts when you use it as an excuse to not deal with anything else. And an uninitiated man will do that because he doesn't value anything. He only values work. And that's one of the biggest issues. As you see, there's a lot of women, as you see in social media and stuff, a lot of women who divorce men because they don't show up. They might only show up financially. Even very rich men, they might show up only financially, but that is not enough. It's not enough for the women. You need to be able to provide financially, and even more importantly than being able to provide financially, you need to show up as a person that actually cares, that loves, who is involved with your wife and your kids and showing up. You need to do that. That is needed. So money isn't enough because millionaires and billionaires get divorced all the time. People with a couple of millies stacked away, making $100,000 get left all the time. Money is not everything. Working your butt off and using it as an excuse is not a good excuse. Nobody should fall for that, right? Well, let me keep moving, right? And the takeaway, right? The takeaway from the insight of the crisis of initiation. Us men need to seek out mentors, community, and challenges that grow us. And we should not be waiting for men to come initiate us. No, don't get it wrong. It is nice to be able to have groups and communities already set up. But the truth of the matter is that we are in a state where men don't want to help other men. And it's not because they're being selfish, it's because they're scared. Like I said, showing up, it is so dangerous to show up as a man. As a strong man too. Because you could very easily get put in a certain box and get shunned and get shamed. And even though there are men that are doing terrible things that should be, handled accordingly, good men have to deal with that pull as well. It's almost like the T-app. So the T-app is good. Overall, I believe the T-app is bad. Overall, it's doing more harm than good. And somebody explained it perfectly. They're like, listen, you are going to catch a very small percent of the population that is abusing women, hurting women, ain't doing things right. You are going to catch them. But at the same time, too, you open up the door to falsely accusing good men as well that probably had a bad episode or a bad time, or either women lying on them. So now imagine as a man how scary it is to show up or deal with a woman not knowing if you're going to get put on an app and ruin your chances of dealing with other women in the future that could have been potential partners because somebody else lied on you or made an accusation that wasn't true or didn't hear it out because they're just going off their perspectives. That scares good men away. And it doesn't scare away the bad man. The man you're trying to avoid does not care. Bro, I'll tell you. The men you are trying to avoid do not care, bro. They do not care that you are talking about them. They will continue to run that game until it's worn out. And guess what? If it don't work, I promise you they're going to find another pull of women. They are not trying to change. You're not going to change. Yeah, you can avoid them for some time. But you're doing more bad than good because the good men are now scared. They have a conscience and they're thinking about the future or scared to interact with any type of woman now, or either woman who could have had a chance with a good man or a man that is growing or learning. A woman might have a perception now in her head about this guy based on an app, based on what other women said. Very dangerous, very dangerous. But guys, we need to seek out other men. We can't wait for them to show up. If we didn't have our dads, it would have been nice if all our dads were there, but they're usually not, right? Especially in the black community. They're not there all the time because they're working all day, doing other things, this and that, divorce, whatever it is, legal battles when it comes to custody of the kids. It's very tough. And some dads just don't show up, right? Emotionally or things like that. You need to, when you reach a certain age and you have a certain level of autonomy where you can make your own decisions, you need to go seek out mentors. That's what I've been doing. I'm continuously doing it. All right, insight 3, father hunger and male bonding. Father hunger and male bonding. This is real. All right, so absent and emotionally distant fathers leave deep wounds. I'm a testament to that. Like I said, my dad has been in my life my whole life, and he's still here, right? Him and my mom separated when I was 12. Separated when I was 12, but he never actually disappeared. I've always talked to him. He has been providing for us financially, doing things like, and I appreciate it. I love him. I do. But he was and still is emotionally distant and unavailable. I don't know my dad's background. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying when this and that. I'm at a certain age now where it's like that's the cards I was dealt. You learn how to deal with it. I still have a relationship with my dad. Still working on it. Still a lot of things, still working through things like that. But the truth of the matter is that my dad has been absent physically and emotionally throughout my whole life. And it has left a deep wound that I'm still working through. But that's true for a lot of men and a lot of women as well. But we're talking about men here. It's true for a lot of men. And healing requires male mentorship and brotherhood, where men are teaching men. Where men are teaching men. Not where women are teaching men. Now, I ain't gonna go in too much on this. I remember having a conversation with somebody the other day, and after I asked them, we were having a conversation, but basically the conversation got to a point because I was getting worked up. And after I made it very simple, I was like, hey, I have a question for you. Do you believe that you need a man and a woman to successfully raise a young boy? Do you think the man is necessary? And I was basically asking her, is the man necessary in the process of bringing a boy into manhood? And she kind of was there like, I don't know, this and that. And I was like, stop. And that's where I started getting worked up. And the reason is because now, I promise you, there are a lot of people that believe men are not necessary. Men are not necessary in the development of young men, young boys. Even though a lot of studies show that two-parent household, boys and girls do significantly much better in life, on average. But like I said, and also this was somebody who didn't have a strong male figure in their life, or strong male figures in their life as well too. And you have to pay attention to things like that. But it's still working me up because this is something I really care about, I'm passionate about, and I'm realizing the issue here. Now, I'll be honest with you real quick. I was being developed into a man hater as a boy. You see, now, I'll be honest, a lot of boys, they experience what I'm about to say right now, because I experienced it. When you're a young boy, if you're around a lot of, you're being raised by a single mother, and there's a lot of other single mothers around you, there's this notion that grown men are bad, or the men that they had in their lives were no good and they were bad. But you're going to be this baby savior, like you're perfect and you're pure. And what happens now is you grow up as a little boy adopting this ideology. And now you start to hate grown men because you think they're the enemy. But what you don't realize is that one day you have to become a man. And a lot of these battered and hurt women don't realize that as well. They're not really thinking it through, that this young boy is going to be a man. What they're thinking is this boy is always going to stay my boy. He's going to be great. He's going to be perfect with this and that. Even though he hasn't had a good example in front of him. And he's been told that men are bad. So internally, there starts to become self-hate. A boy will start to hate himself for his manly characteristics. Or as he starts to hit puberty and stuff, he starts maturing into a man. And women will notice it. Like, single mother will notice it, and they'll start calling out, "Oh, you're growing facial hair, your voice is getting deeper. Oh, you're getting bigger." They start, because you start looking more like a man. But now you start feeling bad because you're developing into a man, because you don't have a healthy representation, a healthy ideal of what a man is. And then now, when you mess up as a boy who has been initiated, a young man, let's go around the ages of, like, let's say 16 to like 25. When you start to mess up and you're not doing things right, because nobody has really showed you. Nobody has really showed you. You haven't had other men in your life to initiate you and show you what it looks like, healthy men, in your life, to show you what a productive man looks like, which is helping society, not hurting, on multiple fronts. They start to hate you too. They will start to hate you too. The first time you mess up, they will start, other than your mother. Your mother will feel some type of way about you too, but because that's your mother, she'll deal with a lot more of your crap, right? Mama's boys. And, there are moms. And moms love us. It is what it is. They love us, so they'll deal with a lot more crap. But the thing is that women in general, they'll look at you, "Oh, little boy, this and that. You're going to be better. Oh, so cute, this and that." And then the minute you get old enough, Adam's apple start coming in. You feel me? Your nuts drop. Hair start growing. You start getting big. You start lifting some weights. They start looking at you a little different. Hold on now. This ain't little RJ no more. You keep an eye out for him. And then now you do something that reminds them of what the other men in their lives did. Boy, you gone. You go from being loved and adored to being on the other side of hated men. Just like that, in an instant. And even if you aren't toxic or you aren't bad, just the presence of a strong masculine figure might throw them over the edge, because it might remind them too much of, hold on, this is very heavy. They don't know if you're dangerous or not. They don't know yet. And like I said, a lot of them haven't seen healthy masculinity. They haven't seen it. They haven't seen a lot of men walking, operating in a healthy way. But there's still a lot of characteristics, when it comes to men who are unhealthy and healthy, right? It's just like the things they're actually doing, but you guys get what I'm saying. There's a difference. I'm not going to go into that too much. Let me go on. But another thing, men require men to heal. We do. I'm not going to try to of course, I am important in my daughter's process, in my future daughter's process in becoming a woman. She needs me as well. But I am not going to try to pretend like I could bring her into womanhood as well as my wife can. I'm not finna do it. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe that's true. You guys know it's not true either, but that's it. All right, and the takeaway from this, do not heal alone. Find and build male friendships that allow for honesty, grief, and growth. Find and build male friendships. Find your mentors. Find your friends where you can have open, honest conversations. It's fine to have female friends, but the truth of the matter is that they cannot connect to you the same way other men can. They just can't. I'll be honest. Now, I ain't even going to go into that. The next point. I ain't even going to do that. Shadow work and grief work. So in the story, I'm saying you should read this book. It's really good. I'm not really going into it. I'm just touching on the things. Like I said, this book was based around a folk tale, a fairy tale called Iron John, Iron Hands in German, but Iron John. And Bly beautifully breaks down, the psyche of what is going on and what has happened and his idea of what has happened to men. And a lot of it is spot on. And a lot of men, honestly, you can go on YouTube and Google him. Men have flocked to him for years because there is something there. There was something there that he is saying, that he is doing, that is working and connecting to men. And side note, you know what? There's another thing too, before I go on to the next point. The things that really work and really matter, we don't pay attention to. We want to focus on the negative so much. I've never heard about this book, never heard about this man. And it's the same thing with a lot of things that actually work. We love drama, toxicity, and negativity so much that even if something positive comes around, because it's not enticing, it doesn't make us feel the excitement, adrenaline and stuff. We ignore it. Healthy is boring to a certain extent. It can be sometimes if you look at it that way, if you're not healed. A lot of us are not healed. A lot of us have a lot of trauma. A lot of us are dealing with a lot of internal conflicts that we are not working through. So yes, when we hear drama and we hear things like that, we get to blowing up, we get excited, this and that. But when it comes to healthy things, do you know why Love Island is set up the way it's set up? I remember I was listening to a podcast and it was talking about how they when they were starting these reality love shows way back then, people who were too healthy and showed up, ready to date respectfully and found their partners and found their stuff, they kicked them off the show. Or like healthy couples, they kicked them off the show. The reason is because nobody would watch it. As much as we say we want good things, the producers and the TV people said, this is not going to sell. The healthy love story is going to be short. It's going to be boring. There was no drama. So these couples, these individuals were booted off. And the people who would cause drama, the conflict, and come with it were kept on the show. That is why you see shows like Love Island blowing up like this, or The Bachelor, certain things like this. They blow up like this because these are unhealthy characteristics, individuals, in multiple different ways that come with the drama, come with the beef, with the insides, all this craziness and stuff. And now it's a freak fest. I got that from Primy. He called everything a freak fest. That's fun. That boy funny. Shout out to my Haitian brother, man. That boy funny. But the ratings on that show are not. I have never watched an episode of Love Island, but I can't get away from it. I barely know what Huda looked like, but I've heard her name for about 2.5 months straight. That is crazy. I've heard her name for do you know how many women out here are doing amazing? There's this podcast called Off the Record. 2 very successful Black women who have done amazing things, are married, or doing great things. I think they have under 50,000 subscribers on YouTube. Why? And they are having some serious conversations with other amazing Black women. And they're getting into the nitty and gritty of things, showing up in such a healthy way, and have less than 50,000 subscribers. Let you put up a video of some beef with a jacked up camera. I'm talking about like that I'm talking about that 420 quality. but is drama induced. Negativity is gonna blow up. It's gonna blow up every time. But these women can't even get over 50,000. I believe they will get to it, right? Because their people will find them. But it's just the fact that it takes so much longer to grow and people to find them over time because negativity travels so much faster than positivity. We got to be cautious of that because we all are programmed like that. We say we want the best thing. We want this, we want that. But we're attracted to drama now and conflict and them things, you know. But I continue. Shadow work and grief work. In the book, in the story, the boy stains his hands in the pond, which is the wound. So in this folktale, Iron John, basically, there is a king and a prince and a queen. Iron John gets set free by the boy. He was in the cage, which is masculinity, which is locked away. The boy sets him free, finds the key, sets him free. Iron John runs into the woods with the boy. Now the boy is gone. He comes up to this pond, and every single time he dips his hand into this pond or his body part into this pond, it turns into gold. Now, this is the idea behind it. The pond is the wound, or the pond is your grief or the things that you're working through. And the idea is the boy is putting his hand into grief, into the wound. And that symbolizes you confronting your wound and you're dealing with, you're healing it. And as you heal it, when you pull it back out, it turns into gold because now you're healed. And now your wound, what used to hold you back is bringing you forward now, right? Because now you could use that in a powerful way. You're not a victim to it anymore because you've confronted it and you've mastered it. So him dipping his hand into the wound is him confronting the wound. And then him pulling it out is he confronted the wound, is healed. His hand is gold. Whatever body part he jumps, if he jumped in the whole thing, he would be gold. Right? But he didn't do the whole thing. He didn't jump in the whole thing. His hair got into it, his hand got into it, certain parts. But it symbolizes confronting the shadow, and when he pulled it out, it was gold. So now he went from having a wound to being empowered by the healed wound. And that's true for all of us. When we heal our wounds, we become empowered because now, not only can we speak on things from a empowering standpoint, we can help others. We can help others get out of that wound because we understand it. We know what it feels like. We are empowered. We have a little bit more understanding about life. When we really heal through, we're more alike than different. So when you meet people who have actually worked through their stuff or actively working through stuff, you can tell the difference. You could really tell the difference. Somebody who's working through their stuff, you could talk about certain things, and even though it might not sound so sweet, it doesn't sound good all the time. But because they've started working through their trauma and things, they're not as triggered, and they can have conversations because they've confronted it, and they can pull good things from their experiences and give it to you. Empowered. Second thing is men must face grief, rage, vulnerability rather than hiding them. Men, we love to do this. I love to do it too. I don't do it no more. I put everything out now. See, we 38 minutes in. I don't care. I'm talking about it because this is what I want to do for work. Hey, we touching on that vitality piece right now. I'm having fun. It's common knowledge. Men don't like to show their emotions. Men, they trying to act tough all the time. They're so closed off. We don't like to talk. Man, this and that. We don't want to talk to other men. We just got us and ourselves. This and that. All I need is my woman. Yeah, and even all got it. I got my mama. I'm good. But take that man and start talking about certain things back in his childhood. Start bawling like a baby. You know what that means? That means that he has things that he hasn't confronted. Grief, rage, vulnerability. You need to learn how to be vulnerable around with other men. Don't go do it with women. And I'm not saying you can't do it with your lady. What I'm saying is that get healed up first. Because there are times where I know men have said, like, I don't want to share it because she might throw it back in my face. That is very much true. She might do that. Which is why you should probably go find other men, mentors, and other guys you could talk to that won't throw it back in your face. We won't. If anything, it'll empower us to be vulnerable as well and connect. I have a lot of friends, a lot of brothers. I love my friends. Side note, I love all my friends. I love my friends. I love my friends. I love my family. I love my friends. I love my people. I love my guys. I have female friends and I have male friends, but I love both of them. But I'm telling you, I'm much more intentional with my male friendships. Like I know that's what I need. Here's the takeaway from shadow work and grief work. True strength is the ability to feel and process deep emotions and not repress them. True strength is the ability to feel and process deep emotions and not repress them. Insight 5, wholeness. Talking about wholeness, coming together. There's this other book called The Warrior, Lover, King, and Magician. I'm not going to go into that. There's other book, but Robert Bly, he draws from that book is what, I don't know if this book was created when or after, I don't know, but I'm assuming he does. But basically, he talks about the different phases of a man and the different parts of a man, right? Now we're talking about the masculine soul and how there's different aspects to it, right? So I'm about to break down the different aspects to the masculine soul under this insight and like what they mean and how a man could work on all of these. The first one is the warrior soul, right? The warrior aspect. Oh no, the warrior archetype. Or archetype is the right way to say archetype. All of these are the different archetypes. The first one is the warrior. Warrior represents, symbolizes courage and discipline. All right. The second one is the lover. Symbolizes, represents intimacy and creativity. Love. Third archetype is the king, which represents responsibility and service. The fifth one is the magician, which represents, I need to check that up. I don't have it written down here, but magician represents something. But here, I think the magician, I don't know if the magician is the wild man. I don't know, but it's the magician, whatever. I don't really remember what it, I could check it up. I have an iPad in front of me. Let's do this. Check it up right now. I got a laptop in front of me. All right. What does the magician archetype represent? And you know, I know everybody won't agree with this. You know, they have their different views, but I don't care. This is my video. Talk about what I want to talk about. You make your own video and talk about what you talk about. The magician archetype embodies transformation, knowledge, manifestation, using deep understanding of the hidden laws of the universe to turn imagination into reality. All right, so it really touches into that transformation and creation and knowledge piece, right? You know, manifestation piece. You know, good wisdom and influence, intuition, right? So there we go. In stories, characters like Gandalf or Dumbledore embodied the magician using their profound knowledge and power to guide and transform the world around them. So it's basically making the impossible possible. We love that. All right. And these are different archetypes of what makes a masculine man, a healthy masculine man, a man showing up in masculinity, right? And when I finished reading, I didn't read that book yet, but when I read that book, I'm definitely gonna make one on it. But the takeaway here is that mature masculinity is not one dimensional. It is the integration of all of the above. The warrior, which represents courage and discipline. The lover, which is intimacy and creativity. The king, which is responsibility and service. And the magician, which is which makes the impossible possible. Embodies transformation and knowledge. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. And in conclusion, to wrap this up, because I've been going off from, I said I was going to make this 25 minutes. Boy, we have 44. It is what it is. But to conclude, Iron John overall is not a how-to book. It's a soul map. It really touches on the psyche. It touched on my psyche. I didn't feel like it was necessarily telling me, hey, this is how you do this, how you do that. But it was touching parts of me and I was able to connect to and sit down there and ponder. I was able to chew on a lot of this stuff and do some research, do some groundwork. I'm taking on YouTube, type in Robert Bly, see some of his videos, his talks, things like that, how the process of what he would do, travel around and go have conferences and meetings with men, and just how amazing it was. It was good stuff. But it's really, Iron John is more like a soul map for men. Also, Ask yourself if you feel the synergy from the ideas in this book. Like I said, that's what I felt. I felt the synergies. I felt when I was reading this book, I would pause a lot of times and I would be like, man, this makes so much sense. I feel it. It's connecting to me. You know when something is there and it's connecting to, it's because Bly understood men. He understood men. He understood how to initiate men. He understood what he was doing. And I felt that through this book. Ask yourself, read this book. Ask yourself if you feel the synergies from this book or from the things that I've been talking about. Ask yourself where you are on your journey in manhood. Have you been initiated ever? Do you have any mentors in your life? Do you have brothers in your life that you could call on if you need something? Have you ever been vulnerable with them? How is your relationship with your father? Is it not the best? That's okay. It could get better. If he's not dead, there's a chance opportunity. Is he willing to talk to you? Are you willing to talk to him? Because the truth is as you get older, you start to get older, you still might not appreciate or like your parent, your father, but you will start as a man, you will start to understand why certain things were the way they were because you will start to experience the same reality. One issue is that it's very hard for a lot of men to talk about it is because they don't have the language. They do not have the language to communicate to their sons and daughters, their reality and how they feel. It doesn't matter. One reason I am becoming a mental health counselor. Well, let me finish this. The third point is ask yourself where you are on your journey of manhood. There we go. And also, I'll finish what I was saying, and then okay. That was the last point. But a big reason why a lot of men, we don't really have a voice because we don't really have the language. Like we've been told, stay tough, stay wrapped up, like don't say nothing, this one there, just deal with it. That's a lie from hell. That's a lie from hell. You can't talk about it, you can't deal with it. A lot of men don't want to because we believe we shouldn't. Yeah, I don't believe that. I'm talking. And I'm coming with the right language, and I'm coming with so. And even if I'm not perfect, this whole video is not perfect, but I'm talking about how I really feel. And I think that's what matters more, and the language will come over time. But a lot of us do not have the language, and part of the reason why I became a counselor is because I realized that I'm a little bit better at that than other guys, and instead of just keeping it to myself, what I can do is perfect my craft, perfect my language, get very proficient, become an expert in it, and help teach other men how to do the same thing as well. Because I want to see men win, right? I want to be in the process and take the process seriously of bringing boys to men because it was done for me, and it was done for me. It's still being done for me. It's a very hard process. It's hard. It's very hard, especially when you're trying to be in a relationship. A lot of times men do get overshadowed, not because nobody wants to see them, but because they don't have the language. They don't know how to say the things they want to say or how they feel. They do it in actions, and sometimes those actions lead to them even falling in a rut. Like a lot of men, they'll do things like maybe physical abuse, yelling out, cheating, things like that in reaction to how they feel inside. But you've done the unforgivable at that point, and now there's no coming back for you. And I want myself and other men to learn how to deal with things in a more healthy, productive way that doesn't set us up. I want us to be better for others, for each other, for our women, for our kids, for society. Just be better. It's showing up in a great way. But yeah, that's long enough. I got a lot of more videos, so I could cut this. Please comment, share your thoughts, and give some book suggestions and subscribe. Thank you.